Residential Site Valuation and Cost Approach, page 50. Uses for separate site valuation. Appraisers need to conduct a separate site valuation to satisfy the scope of work in many appraisal assignments. Site valuation is an important analysis with many uses. The next few sections will explore several reasons why an appraiser might have to conduct a separate site valuation, even for property that is not vacant. Extra note, be careful. Determining highest and best use. Highest and best use is the most profitable, legally permitted, economically feasible, and physically possible use of a parcel of land. This requires consideration of the site value. Apart from any buildings or other improvements on the property, highest and best use is always considered in every appraisal. But it is especially important for commercial land or land where zoning has changed. Sometimes the underlying land is more valuable than the structures on the land. These are often referred to as tear down properties. If the property needs a separate valuation, an appraiser needs to advise the client if a change in property use is necessary to maximize value. Using the cost approach. The cost approach relies on adding site value to the depreciated cost new of the improvements to indicate an opinion of value for the subject property. This determines if a property is economically feasible. For this reason, the appraiser must often have a means of determining a value for the site only. There are a number of ways to determine separate site value. As we discussed earlier in this textbook, in the next chapter, the cost approach will be discussed to help to understand the calculations. For now, consider the following formula for a project that is economically feasible. Total market value minus depreciated cost of construction over site value depreciated cost of construction plus site value equals total market value. Okay, one more time. Total market value minus the depreciated cost of construction equals site value. Okay. Depreciated cost of construction plus site value equals total market value. Calculating insurance value. Insurance value is the amount that the property can be insured for, usually only representing the replacement costs of the structure and disregarding any value for the land. Since you cannot lose land, you only need to replace the building if it is destroyed. Thus, for insurance purposes, a separate site value is often required to determine the amount of coverage for which the insurance policy will be written. Here is one formula used for insurance value. Total property value minus site/land value equals insurance value amount. Remaining economic life calculations. Useful life/economic life is the time during which a building can be used for its intended purpose and generate more income than is paid out for operating expenses. Keep in mind that although the value of land can go down because of page 51 external forces, the land itself is never said to suffer from physical depreciation. Site valuation comes into play because once a building's useful life or economic life is used up, then the property only has value as vacant land. Even though the enhancements to land that make it a site could suffer physical deterioration, when appraisers talk about depreciation, they are talking about the structure on the land. Thus, a building's remaining economic life is the period of usefulness that a building has remaining as of the effective date of the appraisal. An appraiser arrives at the value of the building separately by taking the original cost of a building and subtracting out the portion of the building that is already been used up, otherwise known as the depreciation. The value of the site is what is left over. So as the value of the building decreases from age, the proportionate value of the land/site increases. Important USPAP obligations. Land and site analysis can be broad and sometimes complex. There are many USPAP obligations that especially are important but are not unique to land and site valuation. In some cases, there could be numerous potential uses of a property as well as extensive data that must be analyzed and interpreted. This likely would include identifying all restrictions on the site, for instance, easements, right-of-ways, as well as any rights that may be excluded in the ownership rights, for instance, mineral rights, water rights. Possibly, there is an easement or visible encroachment on the property. Or you may be inspecting rural property and notice that there is or has been an old, abandoned, dilapidated automobile park on the property. Such circumstance could lead to contamination when hazardous fluids from the automobile leak and absorb into the surface of the soil. Most certainly, tanks, barrels, etc., which are used to store fluids, provide for the similar hazard potential. In such case, an appraiser may need to consult with experts who specialize in such issues. The conditions should certainly be disclosed and the effect on value should be analyzed. Here are some key points excerpt from USPAP Standard 1 that are especially important as it deals with land and site valuation, whether improved or unimproved. Note, the information is summarized from this discussion and is not in all cases a direct quote. Students are advised to refer to USPAP Standard 1 for the entire presentation. Standards Rule 1 through 2E states, in part, an appraiser must identify the characteristics of the property that are relevant to the type and definition of value and intended use of the appraisal, including its location and physical, legal, and economic attributes, the real property interest to be valued, any known easements, restrictions, encumbrances, leases, reservations, covenants, contracts, declarations, special assessments, ordinances, or other items of similar nature. Whether the subject property is a fractional interest, physical segment, or partial holding.